All right, so let's dive into something that's been causing a lot of debate lately.
Okay.
Um, the H-1B visa program
Yeah.
here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one that lets companies hire skilled workers from overseas.
Right.
A lot of times for tech jobs.
Yeah,
It's been a hot button issue for a while, but things have been heating up,
for sure.
especially among Trump's Magier supporters.
Absolutely. There's been a resurgence of calls to totally halt these visas,
Really?
particularly for workers coming from India.
Ah.
And then this appointment of Shiram Krishnan,
Yeah.
Indian American to a senior role in the Trump administration,
Right.
focusing on AI,
Right.
has just intensified this whole controversy.
It seems like a little bit of a contradiction, right?
Yeah.
You have someone like Krishnan
Right.
in a key position, but then also advocating for stricter limits on skilled immigration.
It really highlights the complexity of this whole issue.
Yeah.
Some argue that programs like H-1B undermine American jobs, prioritizing cheaper foreign talent.
Right.
Others, and especially folks in Silicon Valley, insist that attracting global talent is absolutely vital for the U.S. to stay ahead in this whole tech race.
It's interesting how this debate, it feels like it's going beyond just the economics and workforce concerns.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's tapping into these deeper anxieties
Absolutely.
about American identity and culture.
I completely agree. And that's actually where Vivek Ramaswamy's perspective comes in. You might remember him.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur, former presidential candidate.
Right.
He's stirred up quite a bit of controversy with his take on the H-1B debate, claiming that it's not really about immigration at all.
Oh, really?
It's a reflection of American culture itself.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
What exactly is the arguing?
He's basically suggesting that American culture prioritizes this normalcy over excellence, and that this is leading to a shortage of top-tier talent in fields like engineering.
He's got some interesting ways to prove this point, right?
Yeah, he uses some pop culture references.
Like what I'm intrigued.
Well, he talks about how American society often celebrates the prom kings and the jocks more than they do, like, academic achievers.
Yeah.
He even brings up 90s shows. Like Boy Meets World and Saved by the Bell.
Oh, wow.
Where the nerdy characters were often portrayed as less desirable.
So he's saying this kind of cultural messaging might be sending the wrong signals to young people.
Exactly.
Discouraging them from pursuing excellence in academics and fields like STEM.
That's his argument.
It's interesting.
He contrasts this with what he sees as a greater emphasis on academic rigor and discipline within many immigrant families.
Interesting.
Which he believes contributes to their success in STEM fields.
That's a really thought-provoking argument.
Yeah.
Even if it might feel a little bit oversimplified.
Right.
But it definitely raises questions about the values we're promoting as a society.
Yeah.
Not just in the U.S., but globally.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the strengths and weaknesses of his perspective?
I mean, while his point about these cultural influences is really interesting, I think it's really important to avoid making these sweeping generalizations about entire cultures.
Right.
The immigrant experience is so incredibly diverse.
Yeah.
There are just so many factors that contribute to success in any field.
That's a really good point. It's important to acknowledge the nuances within these conversations.
For sure.
But you can't deny that his argument has sparked a lot of conversation.
Well, absolutely.
And not all of it's been positive.
Right. There's been significant backlash.
Yeah.
A lot of critics are accusing him of bias, dismissing the concerns of American workers, and being overly sympathetic to H-1B visa holders.
Interesting.
Some even see his perspective as potentially harmful to the whole America First agenda.
It seems like people are interpreting his arguments in very different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Can you elaborate on some of the specific criticisms that he's facing?
Well, some of the strongest criticism revolves around these concerns about fraud within the H-1B system. There are allegations of individuals coming in with fake credentials, and this raises security risks and undermines the integrity of the program.
And then there's the economic side of things, too, right?
Oh, for sure.
The argument that companies are using the H-1B program to exploit foreign workers by paying them less, offering them worse conditions because their visas are tied to their jobs.
Exactly. Critics argue that this practice ultimately hurts both American and foreign workers by suppressing wages and creating an uneven playing field.
Yeah. It's complicated.
It really is a complex issue
Yeah.
with potential ramifications for everyone involved.
So the question becomes, are these criticisms valid?
Mm-hmm.
What evidence supports or refutes these claims?
Right.
And maybe even more importantly, what's the real economic impact of the H-1B program?
Those are the key questions that we need to address to get a clear understanding of this whole issue.
So we have this intense debate raging with strong opinions on both sides.
Absolutely.
It's almost like two different narratives running parallel to each other.
It really is.
On one side, you have the MAGA supporters who see H-1B visas as a threat to American job security.
Right. A system that prioritizes cheaper foreign talent over their own citizens.
And then you have Silicon Valley and other proponents of high-skilled immigration who argue that attracting global talent is essential for maintaining America's competitive edge.
Right, especially in fields like technology and innovation.
Right, and within this debate, you have figures like Laura Loomer, conservative activist, publicly criticizing Sri Krishnan, claiming that he's pushing for changes to green card rules that would mainly benefit Indian workers.
Interesting.
She views this as a betrayal of Trump's America First agenda. So that brings us to a really crucial question.
Yeah.
Are these viewpoints really mutually exclusive?
Right.
Can we find solutions that address the anxieties of both sides?
That's the question.
It feels like there's a lot more to uncover here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. What's interesting is how this debate goes beyond just jobs and visas.
Right.
It really gets to the heart of what it means to be American in today's world.
Yeah.
If Ramaswamy is even a little bit right, it makes us ask some hard questions about our values and priorities.
You're right. Are we as a nation really fostering a culture that values intellectual curiosity, hard work, and a pursuit of excellence?
Yeah.
Or are we more focused on celebrating other kinds of achievement?
Right.
You know, maybe ones that are more visible or instantly gratifying.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a complex question.
Yeah.
With no easy answers.
It really is.
But it's worth talking about.
Absolutely.
Not just in the U.S., but globally. I mean, technology is advancing so quickly.
Yeah.
The world's becoming so interconnected, and nations are grappling with these same anxieties about staying competitive, making sure their people have the skills to thrive.
Exactly.
In a world that's constantly changing.
A global issue for sure.
So how do we even begin to address these anxieties?
Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, if policymakers want to help both sides of the H-1B debate feel heard, where do they even start?
Well, the first thing is to acknowledge the worries of American workers who are afraid of being left behind. We can't just dismiss those fears as being protectionist or xenophobic.
Right.
A lot of people are truly struggling to keep up with this changing job market.
I agree. It's about making sure any immigration policy, including H-1B, is actually benefiting American workers and the economy as a whole.
Exactly. And that leads to a bigger question. Is there a way to reform the H-1B system to make it more transparent, accountable, fair to everyone?
That's a good question.
Right.
I mean, one of the biggest criticisms we talked about is exploitation. How do we stop companies from using the system to take advantage?
Right.
Bringing in workers for lower wages and undercutting Americans.
That's where stricter rules come in.
Okay.
And enforcing those rules, we have to crack down on fraud, make sure companies are paying fair wages, hold them accountable if they abuse the system.
So it's not just about limiting the number of visas.
No.
It's about making sure the program is used responsibly, ethically.
For sure.
And along with all of that, we need to invest in education and training programs.
Absolutely.
Here in the U.S. Give American workers the skills they need to compete in a job market that's changing so fast.
That makes sense.
Right. Investing in our own workforce. Providing opportunities for retraining skill development.
Exactly.
That seems crucial to addressing those anxieties about job displacement.
For sure.
It's not just about protecting existing jobs.
It's about preparing for the jobs of the future.
Yeah.
Right. Equipping American workers not just to survive, but to thrive.
Yeah.
In the face of globalization and technology.
About empowerment.
Exactly.
Right.
And recognizing that education It's not just something you do in school.
Right.
It's a lifelong process.
Totally.
Throughout your career.
But if Ramaswamy's even a little bit right,
Mm-hmm.
reforming H-1B is just one part of a much bigger picture.
He's challenging us to look at our cultural values.
Yeah.
The messages we're sending to young people.
Right.
Are we encouraging intellectual curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
a pursuit of knowledge,
Yeah.
a dedication to excellence
Right.
in all fields,
Right.
not just the ones that are seen as prestigious or lucrative?
Right. That's a big question.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the pressure to fit in,
Right.
even if it doesn't align with our strengths or passions.
We need to celebrate a wider range of talents.
Yeah.
Recognize that success can look different for everyone.
It's not just about producing engineers and doctors.
Right.
It's about nurturing creativity,
Yeah.
critical thinking,
Mm-hmm.
empathy,
Absolutely.
collaboration.
Those are the skills we need.
Yeah.
For the future.
No matter what your job is.
Exactly.
So this whole H-1B debate,
Yeah.
it's become a starting point for a much wider discussion.
It really has.
It's not just about immigration or the economy.
No.
It's about who we are as a society,
Yeah.
what we value,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of future we want.
For ourselves
Yeah.
and for future generations.
It's a really powerful realization.
This deep dive has brought up a question that
Yeah.
every country needs to think about.
Right.
How do we create a culture that values both individual achievement and collective well-being?
That's the balance we need
It is a delicate balance.
Yeah.
But it's so important.
for a healthy society.
Yeah, for a society that can thrive.
And it's a conversation
Mm-hmm.
that needs us to move past easy answers,
Yeah,
engage in thoughtful discussions,
absolutely.
recognize the complex realities
It's
and the different perspectives
For sure.
that shape these issues.
Exactly. It's about understanding the anxieties,
Yeah.
looking at the evidence,
Uh-huh.
and finding solutions that help everyone.
Not just a select few.
That's the goal.
Wow. It's amazing how much we've uncovered.
I know, right?
Just by taking a closer look at this H-1B debate.
Mm-hmm.
We started with visa quotas and economic impacts.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about cultural values,
Right.
education,
Right.
and what it even means to be successful.
It shows how all these things are connected.
Totally.
Even if we figure out the H-1B stuff,
Right.
these bigger questions about culture are going to stick around.
Ramaswamy's argument. Whether you totally agree with him or not,
Right.
it's made us think about how we create a culture
Mm-hmm.
that values achievement,
Yeah.
but also well-being.
That's the key.
It's like he's saying something's missing.
There's a piece missing from how we define success.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we actually change things?
Yeah, that's the big question.
It sounds good in theory,
Right.
but how do we actually shift our values?
Well, I think we need to start by broadening our definition of success.
Okay.
We focus so much on traditional things.
Yeah, like high-paying jobs.
Exactly. Fancy titles.
But what if we valued other talents and skills?
So it's about recognizing there are many paths
Mm-hmm.
to a good life.
Yeah, you don't have to be a CEO to make a difference.
Right. It's about celebrating everyone.
Exactly. The artists,
Yeah.
the teachers, the caregivers, the entrepreneurs.
Everyone who brings something unique.
Right.
And we need to keep learning
Oh, absolutely.
throughout our lives.
Lifelong learning is so important.
Especially with technology changing so fast. We have to be adaptable.
So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
If Ramaswamy's even a little bit right,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to rethink our values,
Right. To find a better path to success.
what can each of us do?
It's a question for all of us.
What do we really care about?
What kind of world do we want to live in?
What can we do in our own lives?
To build a better future
It's about individual choices.
and working together.
This has just been one perspective.
On a complicated issue,
Keep exploring
keep learning
and keep questioning.
your own assumptions.
If you enjoyed this deep dive
into the H-1B debate,
and all the cultural questions it raises,
don't forget to subscribe and like.
we'll see you next time.